So this might look like macOS, but it's actually a Linux distro with a whole lot of theming going on. To the point where I'm actually surprised Apple hasn't complained about it yet. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So pearOS is a fascinating little flavor of Linux that's been getting a lot of attention recently because of how similar it looks to macOS. But is this actually something that you'd want to use? Well, that's what we're going to be trying to figure out today. You can download the latest release of it from the website that I'll have linked down below. Currently that is 26.2 Nice Core that was last updated on February 9th, 2026. Now a little bit about this distro, it is Arch based and it utilizes the KDE Plasma desktop environment, probably no surprise there. The ISO file comes in at 3.14 gigabytes, which is much larger than a stock Arch ISO file, but still small enough to fit on a single DVD. Regarding system requirements, they are pretty reasonable. You need to have at least a 2 GHz 64-bit dual-core processor, 4 gigs of RAM, and 25 gigs of hard drive space, though they do recommend much beefier hardware, as you can see over here. The system of choice today is an old HP computer that I've upgraded a bit to try and meet these recommended specifications as close as possible. The processor does fall short of that, though it is a 3 GHz AMD Athlon. It is not 8 cores. We have 9 gigabytes of RAM, upgraded from the original 5. Definitely an odd number. HP kind of does this for whatever reason. Fortunately, I had 4 gigs lying around, so I didn't have to donate a kidney or anything. We've got a 128 gigabyte SSD, and we have a GTX 770 with 2 gigabytes of VRAM. So why don't we go ahead and switch over to the computer and get this thing installed. Alright, so this is the first screen you'll see when you boot off of the pearOS installation media, and you see we have a few options here to choose from. The main thing you want to note are the different drivers that you can load. There are free and open source GPU drivers, and then the latest NVIDIA drivers only. You also have options down here to disable Plymouth if you're experiencing issues with that during the boot process. And then of course you have boot existing OS, you got memtest86, and a hardware information tool. Something kind of funny I noticed is under this option, you see they did not change Arch Linux to pearOS like it is in the first option here, so they might want to get around to fixing that at some point. I've actually noticed that the free and open source drivers work on this particular system, even though we have an NVIDIA card. It's probably because it's a much older one, but the latest NVIDIA drivers I cannot boot using this option. So we'll go ahead with our first option here. And here's the boot screen. Very Apple-like, with a very Apple-like logo, a theme that you will be seeing heavily throughout this operating system. And here we are on the desktop. So yeah, I mean, you can see very, very macOS-like, even down to some of these icons. I mean, the pair finder down here, like seriously, that looks like it was just ripped from macOS, if I'm being honest. We aren't going to really go into the applications right now because we are running off of the DVD, so it is going to be much slower. So we're just going to go in here and click on Install pearOS. This little welcome thing comes up when you boot it off of the DVD. You can see we also have that large cursor feature when you shake the mouse around, just like in macOS. You've got 3 languages here. We're going to go with English, and then it comes up with pearOS Recovery. I'm actually curious to see what Gparted looks like, if this got like a reskin or something. No, it is just regular Gparted, and you see we have nothing on the drive. So we're just going to close out of that and click on Install pearOS Nice Core. Now this is important to note, if you click on this option, it will just wipe your entire drive and get rid of everything on it. It doesn't give you any options like some other Linux distros do, to where you can go in and do the partitioning and install alongside another operating system. This will just erase your entire disk, and they make this very clear on the website. That is something that you want to know going into this. So even though Gparted is there, that doesn't really affect, you know, how the installer is going to work. So we're just going to click on Continue and Agree. We're going to agree again. And then we do get a disk selector. It has apparently detected the compact flash reader in here. There's nothing in those right now, but we're just going to click on the SSD. Hit continue, and then it comes up and says this will erase the selected disk. macOS does not include an option for multi-boot or partitioning. Any complaints regarding this should be directed to Apple. We simply replicate their approach. You need an active internet connection to install pearOS Nice Core on your device. This is actually an Apple thing too, so they are on brand on this part as well. So let me go ahead and plug this into Ethernet. And let's hope that it's got an Ethernet driver loaded. So there we go. Okay, so that worked. Estimated time remaining 18 seconds. That's pretty quick, but I just don't think it's actually going to be that quick. Oh no, installation failed. Unexpected error, okay, please check home live user install.log for details. What's that? Oh, local time. Yeah, the time and date is way off on this thing. I do need to change that. I saw in the BIOS it was set to like 2010. Alright, let's change this here to February 27th, 2026. Well, I think it's working now, but it's going to take 44 minutes and 7 seconds. Oh my gosh, we're going to be here for a little bit. Well, hello, and welcome back. That did indeed take about 45 minutes. We are booted off of the hard drive, and I assume this is going to be like an out-of-box experience type setup thing where we're going to go through and make our user account and everything. So, we'll select English US, go with the US keyboard layout, and for the time zone, we will go with, let's see, Chicago, why not? So, it looks like for the user profile picture, we actually have like some memoji. These look really like they're just memojis, and then, you know, the little, like these look very Apple. Let's go with this one, I guess. And we'll just put in my name here. Account name is Michael, that's fine. pearOS machine is the computer name, that's cool. And we'll go with our super secure password. And here are the terms and conditions. We're going to totally read those. And we have a welcome animation. Okay, that's looking kind of cool. And I think it just restarted. Alright, here we are on the login screen. It actually says touch ID or enter password down here. Okay, so we'll just put in the password and log in. And here we go. We are on the desktop. We have a what's new window come up, and then we have, again, the same stuff that we got on, you know, when we were booted off of the live CD. So there are a couple options here for updating the system, fixing liquid gel, which I believe is their like liquid glass alternative or replica. And let's just scroll through the what's new here and just see what we've got. Peary, an AI-style voice assistant, but apparently is not real AI, it just feels like AI. Use it for quick commands and a more natural way to interact with your system. We've got Pafari, the web browser, an almost identical experience to the original Safari. We have X11 Wayland. Oh, they've moved from X11 to Wayland for better security, smoother performance, and a modern display stack. There's a new control center. There is a new installer. We already saw that. Redesigned dock, which, yes, does indeed look very macOS-like. Redesigned launchpad. So yeah, I believe that this update is where they implemented a lot of the like design changes that we saw in Tahoe. So trying to kind of mimic that. Arc effect on downloads folder. Okay, that's neat. So apparently this was not a thing in here before. Improved experience, smoother animations, clearer feedback, and a more consistent feel. Ring light. When you're on camera, use your screen as a ring light. Okay. Privacy bubbles. So this is like in macOS, where it will let you know if your microphone is being used or if your screen's being captured. So that's nice. Trackpad settings and Peary settings. Liquid gel, which is, yeah, this is exactly just like liquid glass. I think that is working. I mean, it is, maybe it's not supposed to be as transparent, but I think this does look, I mean, it looks pretty similar to what we have here. There is this fix liquid gel button. We can just, well, why don't we press it right now and see if it changes anything. So we'll enter our password to authenticate. Okay, well that didn't really seem like it changed anything, because yeah, this is the application running here. You see we've got like dock animations going down to the dock. What else do we have in here? Update mirror list, update system. Why don't we just go with update system and see if there are any additional packages that we need to get. Okay, was that it, or did I enter the wrong? Yeah, authenticating as Michael, so this should be my password, and then it just immediately goes away. Update mirror list, maybe. Let's do that first. Unfortunately, you can't really see like if this stuff is completing successfully, but I mean it does just immediately go away, so maybe it didn't find any updates. I clicked on screen resolution. That is bringing up the settings application, which you can see, of course, looks very, very similar to what we have on macOS. Although okay, well, I couldn't scroll up there for a second, but now it started working. And scrolling down, you see it's kind of, maybe we have to wait for the animation to stop and then we can go, and I think that's exactly what it is. So I just wanted to go into displays and see that, yeah, we are running at 1920 by 1080. So how do we change the resolution, do we not have... Okay, well, we get 3 resolution options, I guess. You can't just slide it down. So we can set it to 320 by 200, 1024 by 768, or 1920 by 1080. So we're just going to leave it on the resolution it's currently on. I am curious about this pair intelligence and peery. Let's go ahead and turn this on, which we can't do. I guess we have to click on enable peery. So it will download that. Okay. And here is the control center, which at the moment is displaying maybe a little bit bugged out. Or no, I guess that's how, it's just really close up here. And there's not like a background or anything. So you've got like do not disturb. You have some buttons here like what is this just dark mode? Yeah, so we just turned off dark mode. I'm actually going to leave that off because light mode, though I prefer dark mode, the light mode tends to show up a little bit better on video. Well, except for when you have like a liquid gel window over another window, that doesn't look super great. But yeah, I think we're done with this, so we're just going to close out of the welcome application. We'll let peery continue to download. I can't seem to move. Okay, there we go. Where is the edge of the window to grab this and move around? Is it just on the text? Like, that's not... Oh, okay, I can grab the edge like that to change the size of it, but I can't really... Okay, it's just over here. So over here, you can't grab it. It has to be over, like, in this... No, just right here. There's this one spot where you can grab the window to move it around. And it does kind of work in the corner a little bit, too. But anyway, you can see moving windows around pretty fast and fluid. Don't really notice any slowdown or anything. We do have, like, a window snapping thing going on, so we can make that full screen. We'll go ahead and... That just, like, made a whole separate desktop for us. So how do we... Okay, there we go. We just got that back to this size. So let me find that grab point again, right there. We'll just minimize this, I guess, and let it download peery in the background. Okay, a couple things I noticed. It does look like the text up here, maybe that's because we changed from dark mode to light mode, but this up here is still black text, so maybe we have to go and like re-change the mode, probably under just appearance. Yeah, there you go. So we'll go light. And that still doesn't seem to change that text. It changes when you go to dark mode. Light mode, it actually changes to black, I guess. Yeah, interesting. I guess you're supposed to have a different background going on. I mean, the color here is just going to be the accent color for the controls and everything, so we can make that like green. And it looks like it just restarts the entire like window manager. And yeah, I do find that interesting how just this text here for these menus turns black and everything else is white. That's I guess that's a bug if there's not an option to change that. I mean, icon and widget style, we can change that to dark or clear. It's just set it tinted, which I assume is the default. Maybe we can actually change it because these buttons don't seem to change anything. Actually, let's look under menu bar. Oh, feature not available. Okay, so we can't make any modifications to that. How's pair intelligence doing? 27%. Okay, so why don't we minimize this? I did open up a Finder window. This pair Finder application just looks like the regular, like Files program. Let's just go to About Files here. Yeah, it's just the GNOME Files program, though they've changed the the icon to this Finder one. So it even says up here, Files. So it is only labeled pair Finder down here. So what does the like launchpad thing? Okay, so that brings up a little window and you've got all your applications on here. So yeah, even though they are utilizing KDE for the desktop environment, we have at least one GNOME application. It looks like we've got console, we have KCalc, so it looks like a majority KDE applications in here. You've got Kate. Here's Pafari. I wonder if, like, is this actually its own web browser? Is this just GNOME Web? I think it is. Yeah, Epiphany. Okay, so this is just a reskinned version of an existing web browser. So, okay, you've got that. We'll close out of that. We've already took a look at the Files program. Settings we have open right now. We are still, let's see where we're at. Jeez, what the heck? Okay, we got a whole, like, book here. Disk quota exceeded? Is this thing out of space already? What the heck? It should only use, like, 25, I mean, it's like, recommended 50 gigs on the site, and this is a 128 gigabyte hard drive, so we should have plenty of space. But let's go to About This Pair, just to see what it shows us here. So it just identifies it as laptop. Let's go to more info and see. Okay, that just brings up the setting program. Yeah, 101 gigs available of 117 gigs. So it should have plenty of storage space. Let's just try it again. And maybe not minimize the window this time. We'll just push it over here and we'll continue going through the rest of these applications. So calculator, what do we got? Kcalc. Okay, so nothing really exciting there. Photos. We have GwenView. Is this a GNOME thing? No, this is a KDE thing, but the icon has been changed. And then we have Eliza down here. A simple music player made with love by the KDE community. So yeah, another KDE thing. Here's all the credits down here. You're probably seeing a pattern by this point. And then here's Kate, which I know is a KDE text editor. And then you have your downloads thing. I do actually want to add a bunch of stuff to this just to see like how that, you know, does that affect when you open it up. So let's go into downloads, and then can we just make a new folder in here? Maybe not. Let's try that again. New folder, there we go. So we'll add A. And okay, that did like a little download animation there. And why don't we just make a bunch of copies of this? And you see it does that animation every single time. So we got a whole bunch of those. And now when we open this, we get that nice fan out effect. That's pretty cool and very smooth too. So, all right. And then we've got the trash over here, which of course opens up in the files program. And then let's open up the launchpad again. Can we move this around, or is this just, I think this is just a fixed window here in the center of the screen. So we can't move that. But, you know, it is like an application search thing. You've got different categories. This is like your app's launch menu. And for the stuff that we have not already seen, we've got Arc, which is the KDE archiving tool. And then most of these other ones in here just have their regular name, even though the icon, for some of them anyway, has been modified. So we've got CMake, we've got the KDE Discover application, we've got KDE Connect down here, the console, we've got software. So we have Discover and we have software, both with the same Apple App Store icon. And we've got Spectacle, which I believe is, yeah, this is a screen capture tool. So we can just do that, and we'll just save that. And cool, it's saved as just screenshot whatever.png in our screenshots folder. That works for me. Close out of that. And then, yeah, what's the deal with the software and Discover? So let's open this up. And this is just, it looks like the regular Discover program. We'll go to About to confirm that. Yeah, Discover 6.5.5, Plasma Development Team. So is this the same thing? No. Oh, this is probably GNOME software. Yeah, that's exactly what this is. Check that out. And then what else we got? Volume control. I guess that's something that's not up here in the control center. Or no, it is right here. But this will just be like a more detailed one. Like I'm sure, yeah, it shows like your output devices, input devices, playback and recording. So, and then I saw something else in here, the system monitor. This is, yeah, Plasma Development Team. Okay, so you've got that in here as well. So yeah, it seems like most of these applications are just slightly reskinned KDE and GNOME things, even if it is just them changing the icon. But for other interfaces like the Control Center, this is, you know, something you wouldn't find like in Arch Linux just out of the box. So this is something that they've installed or maybe developed on their own. So what else can we do from the Control Center? Like this is Bluetooth. You see that does not show up very well. It seems like the transparency, I mean, it is just like the background is fully transparent. I would think this is supposed to have some sort of liquid glass or liquid gel. That is what they called it, right? Liquid gel background. This is KDE Connect. Okay, so you have a shortcut for that. This is Nightlight. Okay, this is probably going to be like what, Flux or Night Shift. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Okay, so we've got that. It's interesting how it stays on this menu even though we click on this, like to open up an options menu. You also can't just click on the desktop to get out of it. You have to go up here and click that, and then open it back up, and you see we have to go back up here to get rid of it again. So that's that. We have Do Not Disturb, which is just going to like silence notifications. You got your brightness and volume controls. This is screenshot, maybe? Yep, screenshot. We'll hit escape, and then this is probably your power settings, which, yeah, will give you restart, suspend, shut down, all that good stuff. And then we can't even press escape to get out of that. You have to, yeah, go up here. So, all right, that's your control center. We've got a search window up here. Why don't we just do a search for KDE? So this will search your applications, your system settings as well. Now, I wonder if these system settings correspond to this application, or is this like the regular KDE thing? Background services, okay, it did bring up a separate window here. So what if we do a search for like resolution, display configuration? That is a separate thing. This is an entirely different application than what we got in here under displays, where we just got these 3 different resolution options. So you can still get in here to specify a different resolution if you don't like those 3, and then change like the screen orientation and all of that. So is this just like, yeah, this looks like the regular KDE system setting. So you still have that on here. And here I just did a search for settings, and we have the system settings application showing up, and that just launches another instance of the same settings application. So they have like rerouted that, but you can still get to certain, like if I type in resolution again, you can still get to certain options, like the display configuration. And yeah, you can just get access to everything from here, so you don't have to use their settings application if you don't want to. Alright, well, unfortunately, after many attempts, I was not able to get the pair intelligence feature to install properly. So, yeah, we're just going to kind of move on to exploring a couple more things before we end off this video, because I feel we are kind of getting towards the end of this episode. We have explored all the applications, we've seen what it comes with. I did just want to go through some of these other menus in the settings application, because you can see for a lot of these, they just have this generic icon, and when you click on them, it just says feature not available. So there's a lot, like for screen time and focus. Game Center, I think, actually comes up with a thing here, even though it has this generic icon, so we can turn that on. But the cloud feature, wallet and pair pay, these are also not implemented yet. So it looks like they are trying to find alternatives to all of these features that are in macOS. Overall, I have to say this application is a really good recreation of the settings application on macOS. And they do have the pair account feature where you can sign in. They have a very similar looking pair ID icon here, as I assume is what they're calling this. Then you've got the menu bar up here. We went into the About screen already, where it shows your system specifications, but then you also have your shutdown options. You've got recent items up here. You have a link to the App Store. I wonder what App Store this is going to open up, because again, we got 2 of them on here, which I think is rather funny. I don't know why they just didn't, you know, go with the KDE one, since like all of this seems to be mostly KDE. I'm actually not sure if this link even works, because nothing came up down here, and you see it's not like launching anything. Maybe we should close out of this and let's try it again. And we'll just sit here for a while and see if it actually opens up something. You can also right-click up here to get to some options. You can configure the panel, the pearOS global menu, which it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of settings here to mess around with, at least under appearance. You've got a keyboard shortcut thing there, and then About, it just says pearOS global menu. But then we have the link to Plasma Desktop. So this might just be the regular like Plasma Desktop settings. They've just renamed it, and then there's no appearance settings to modify. And yeah, you can add or manage widgets. I wonder what that'll do. So, oh my gosh, look at all this coming in. Okay, so here we go. We got some widgets going on. So what if we want to bring in the application dashboard? We can just drag this like onto the desktop there, and then resize it, you know, make it a little bit larger, and we'll just put it over there. What do we got for panels? Application menu bar, that'll just add... Okay, now this looks a little bit different, because you can see that the text is different. Like, I wonder if this is a default one, or maybe this is the same one, just not skinned. Oh yeah, and look at that. Now it's just on top of the other the other menu bar. And yeah, here is that like full screen launcher interface that you just got this lovely icon over here for now. It also looks like it showed up over here too. I think maybe I dragged it up here as well. But yeah, so that's your like full screen launcher thing. But I mean, yeah, we've got a good amount of widgets on here. I think, you know, a lot of them will probably just be like default, you know, KDE things, but they do have a lot of the Apple icons in here. So like we can bring the calculator, and there you go. So we can have that on the desktop. And then let's add something else maybe. This system is definitely starting to struggle a little bit to bring all this stuff up. Let's get disk usage and drag that over here. So there we go. We'll just put that right under the calculator. It's definitely still in its early stages. I mean, the fact that a lot of those features in the settings application are just not implemented yet. I think that this OS has a long way to go before it becomes something that I would personally recommend people to use. You know, if you were switching from macOS to Linux, you can definitely get a macOS theme like this on a mainstream distro like Ubuntu or Linux Mint. Those are the distros that I would typically recommend for a new Linux user, is just go with one of the mainstream distros, something that has a large user base, that has a consistent, you know, upgrade path to where they push out new versions every so often. It's more established. pearOS here is a one-person project, according to the website, so this could end up being more of a hobbyist project that isn't really around for very long. But I'll just repeat what I said earlier. I always recommend sticking with one of the mainstream distros, unless of course you just want to throw this on a VM or a spare computer you've got lying around just to mess around with it and have some fun. But I think that is pretty much going to wrap it up for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this little demonstration of pearOS. If you did, definitely be sure to give it a thumbs up, get subscribed, maybe consider becoming a patron or a channel member to get early, sponsor-free access to these videos before anybody else. But either way, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.